Hello? Hello. Wait, sorry. Let me start that again. No, really. Listen. Textbook conversation. Very formal. Sarah. Good afternoon, Michael. I have noted a potential desire to procure coffee at approximately 10:30 a.m. Would you consider joining me? Michael. Yes, Sarah, that time is acceptable to me. I shall accompany you to the establishment commonly referred to as the Corner Cafe. And now, fast natural. Hey, Mike, coffee at 10:30? Yeah, sounds good. Corner Cafe? Yep, see ya. See? Two versions of the same plan, two different grammars. One sounds like a robot on a stage, the other sounds like life. Today, we're going to look at the grammar native speakers actually use when they speak. Real spoken American English, not perfect textbook sentences. Ready? Okay, let's go. Hi, I'm Emily. If you're B2C2, you already know the written rules. Excellent. But do you ever watch a show or eavesdrop on a conversation and think, wait, where did that verb go? Or why do they say you coming instead of are you coming? That's what we'll demystify today. No drills, no slow artificial speech, just natural examples, side-by-side comparisons, and a few goofy voices. We'll cover fragments, repetition, dropped words, simpler structures, connectors like so, but, anyway, and how stories change in spoken form. My goal, reduce anxiety, replace it with curiosity and confidence. Let's start by looking at what actually changes between textbook and talk. First, the big picture. Why does spoken grammar look different? Simple. Writing is planned and edited. Speaking is fast, interactive, and a little messy. But there are patterns. In writing, you can craft a long sentence, then edit it to perfection. In speech, you process ideas on the fly, you react to your partner, and you often fix or change mid-sentence. So you end up with fragments, interruptions, contractions, dropped auxiliaries, and repetitions. None of that means it's wrong. It's functional. It helps conversation flow. Quick side-by-side examples. Textbook. I did not go to the party because I was extremely tired. Spoken. Yeah, I didn't go to the party. I was just really tired. Textbook. Have you finished your homework yet? Spoken. You done your homework yet? Not for a formal email, but common in speech. Why? Because we chunk info, we react, and we economize words. Okay, segment number 1. Fragments. In textbooks, they often say fragments are incorrect. In spoken English, fragments are everywhere, and they're not broken, they're clear. Usually, the subject or the verb is understood from context. Let me act out a short scene. Two friends, Mia and Tom. Real quick. Mia, hey, you coming to the meeting? Tom, in a bit, just finishing this email. Notice, Tom, no subject, no full clause. In a bit. That's a perfectly natural reply. Compare textbook. I am going to the store. Spoken, going to the store. Or gonna grab some coffee. Short, fast, functional. We use fragments to answer questions because the question already supplied the subject or verb. Another example. A, how was the movie? B, so good, totally worth it. A full textbook answer would be, the movie was very good and was definitely worth the ticket price. But that's unusually formal for a popcorn line. Fragments also show emotion. A, why are you late? B, traffic, absolute nightmare. That's not sloppy. It's efficient and expressive. When should you use full sentences? Formal situations, presentations, emails, interviews. But in conversation, fragments are normal and actually make you sound natural if used appropriately. Important tip, learn to both recognize and produce fragments. Start by listening for them, then practice short replies in casual settings. Don't overdo it at work, though, unless you want HR emails in your inbox. Next up, repetition. Textbooks often teach avoid unnecessary repetition, but in speech, repetition is a tool. We repeat words to buy thinking time, to emphasize, or to show emotion. Example, textbook, the movie was very, very interesting. Spoken, it was so good, like so good. The second version feels more alive, right? Repetition also shows hesitation or searching for the right phrase. So what I was saying was, I totally forgot. Oh, right, the meeting. Or stammering for emphasis. I mean, if you really want to, we can go. Repetition mixes meaning and processing. Let's do a quick exam response example. A, how was the exam? B, hard. Like, really hard. Like, I need a vacation hard. See those repeats? They signal strong feeling and give the speaker time to find the rest of the sentence. Also, pay attention to intonation. When you repeat, you often stretch or raise your pitch, and that adds meaning. In writing, you'd usually edit repetition out. In speech, keep it within reason. It makes you human, not robotic. All right, storytelling, my personal favorite. When people tell stories, the grammar loosens in a specific, consistent way to make the story vivid and immediate. Two big moves, switching to present tense to make events feel close, and using short chunks rather than long clauses. Textbook version, yesterday I went to the supermarket. While I was shopping, I realized that I had forgotten my wallet at home. I was very embarrassed. Spoken, so yesterday I'm at the supermarket, right? I get to the checkout and I realize I don't have my wallet. Like nothing. Super embarrassing. Notice the present tense, I'm, and I realize, even though it's a past event. That's called the historical present, and it makes the story feel live. Storytelling also includes reactions, inline, I'm like, are you kidding me? And fillers, such as, so, like, and right? Those fillers don't mean the person has no grammar. They're organizing the narrative. Mini dialogue. A, what happened? B, okay, so I'm getting on the bus, right? And this guy just starts singing, like full concert. Everyone's just staring. That's exactly how you hear it in real life and on podcasts and TV. Why do listeners get confused? Because textbooks give a neat chronological picture: event, reaction, reflection. Spoken stories mix those layers. You might hear a present action, a past reflection, and a reaction word all in one breath. The fix? Listen for cue words, so, and, then, like, and follow the energy. Over time, you'll stop trying to reassemble every sentence into a neat clause and simply ride the story. Next topic, dropping subjects and auxiliary verbs. Native speakers drop words when context makes them obvious. This is super common in casual questions and short replies. Examples. Textbook, do you want to go? Spoken, wanna go? Textbook, are you coming? Spoken, you coming? Or simply coming? Textbook, have you seen it yet? Spoken, you seen it yet? Textbook, what are you doing? Spoken, what you doing? Or what you doing? Notice we're not obeying textbook sentence structure, but the meaning is crystal clear in conversation. Short kitchen scene. A, you cooking tonight? B, yeah, probably. Don't feel like going out. Again, the subject and auxiliary are dropped. It's light, fast, and friendly. When should you use this? With friends, in quick questions, text messages, and casual chats. When should you avoid it? Job interviews, reports, formal emails. Important practical advice. First, learn to recognize these dropped forms when you hear them. Then, if you want to use them, do so selectively in informal settings. Think of it as a style slider from formal to casual. Now, simpler structures. Written English loves nested clauses, long relative phrases, and connectors like therefore and consequently. Spoken English prefers short, direct sentences, often split into 2 or 3 parts. Big example. Textbook. If I had known that you were going to be in town this weekend, I would have arranged to meet you. Natural. If I'd known you were in town this weekend, I would have met up with you. Even more spoken. If I'd known you were here this weekend, we would have hung out. Shorter, more casual vocabulary, contractions, and sometimes different preposition choices. Another textbook versus real. Textbook, the reason I was late is that there was an accident on the highway. Spoken, I was late because there was an accident on the highway. Or, I was late. There was an accident on the highway. Notice the tendency to split a long sentence into two shorter ones. That's easier to process while talking. Or swap because for 'cause, quicker. And instead of the man who is standing over there is my uncle, we get that guy over there? That's my uncle. Much more conversational. Strategy: break long ideas into short chunks and use everyday connectors. Next, spoken connectors, those little words that run conversations. And, so, but, anyway. These are the glue in speech. We often repeat them to hold the floor, to shift topics, or to emphasize. Let's quickly list their functions. And adds ideas. And then. So shows result or starts a story. So, funny story. But contrasts. Yeah, but. Anyway shifts back or closes a topic. Anyway, moving on. In everyday speech, rare words like moreover or nevertheless don't fit, unless you're intentionally formal or sarcastic. Mini dialogue. A. So, how was your weekend? Good. Saw some friends, went hiking, that kind of thing. Anyway, how's your new job? That anyway is working like a pivot. Textbook versus real again. Textbook. I enjoyed the movie. However, the ending was predictable. Spoken. I liked the movie, but the ending was kind of predictable. Starting sentences with and, so, or but is totally normal in speech, contrary to what some teachers taught you in primary school. Relax. Use them to sound natural. Time to put it together. I'm going to perform two versions of a short scene, planning a weekend trip. First, the textbook version. Emily as Sarah. Hello, Michael. What are you doing this weekend? Emily as Michael. Hello, Sarah. I do not have any plans yet. Why do you ask? Sarah. I am thinking about going to the beach. Would you like to join me? Michael. Yes, that would be pleasant. And now, real life. Hey, Emily is Sarah. No, sorry. Emily as Sarah, I mean. Okay, real one. Mike. Hey, Sarah, what are you doing this weekend? Sarah. Hey, no idea. Why? Mike. Thinking about going to the beach. You in? Ooh, nice. When? Saturday, probably, if the weather's good. Yeah, sounds good. Text me the details. So many differences. Fragments, contractions, dropped words, casual connectors, short chunks. The textbook scene sounds formal and robotic. The real scene flows and includes hesitation, quick answers, and a planning vibe. Let's unpack a few lines. What are you doing this weekend? Drops the R, contracts what are to water, and blends it fast. No idea. Why? Is a fragment that answers a question with the essential info. Thinking about going to the beach. You in? Is a short invitation. No need for, would you like to join me? Text me the details. That's spoken grammar in action. Practical mindset. This is important. Don't feel pressure to copy every informal pattern. Instead, first, understand, then choose. 3 bullet points to remember. 1. Understand first, use later. Focus on comprehension before imitation.
2. Register matters. Use full forms at work and formal writing, relaxed forms with friends. 3. Aim for natural bud clear. Use contractions, short chains, and a little informality without losing clarity. Example slider. Very formal. I do not know whether I will be able to attend. Completely casual. No idea if I can make it. Natural neutral. I'm not sure if I can make it. Pick that middle ground when in doubt. Let's do a short listening exercise. Don't worry, it's just me speaking, but try to follow and identify the features. I'll speak a short conversation twice, once textbook, once natural. Then I'll pause and highlight differences. Ready? Textbook. Do you understand the plan for the meeting? We will begin at 9, and the agenda includes 3 primary items. Please confirm your availability. Natural. You got the meeting plan? Starts at 9. 3 main things on the agenda. You coming? Pause. Which parts changed? Do you understand? You got. Dropping auxiliary, shorter. Long noun phrase. The agenda includes 3 primary items. 3 main things on the agenda. Simpler adjectives. Please confirm your availability. You coming? Short, direct. That little exercise shows it. We cut, we simplify, we drop auxiliaries, and we convert official-sounding phrases into plain talk. Now, a deeper look at a few specific features that often trip up learners: question forms, negative forms, and tag questions in speech. First, questions. Many spoken questions omit auxiliary verbs, especially with pronouns. Compare, are you ready? You ready? Did you see that? You see that? In fast speech, you might get, you seen that? Or you seen that? The grammar is reduced, but the syntactic function, question, remains clear because of intonation. The pitch at the end often rises when you're asking, so listen for intonation patterns as much as the words. Negation in speech also compresses. Textbook, I did not do that. Spoken, I didn't do that, or even didn't do it. And sometimes you'll hear double negatives for emphasis. Non-standard but conversational. I ain't got no idea. I'll be honest, avoid double negatives in formal speech and writing, but if you hear them, understand them as emphasis, not as a new grammatical rule. Tag questions, small ones like right or you know, show agreement seeking. It's cold today, right? We should go, you know? These little tags are everywhere in conversation. Let's talk about contractions and reductions because they're huge in spoken English. You know, contractions like I'm, don't, can't, those are standard. But spoken English also has reductions like gonna, wanna, gotta, hafta, sorta, kinda, cuz, and more. Then you have phonetic reductions. What are you becomes whatcha or whatcherya, depending on speed and accent. Going to becomes gonna. Want to becomes wanna. These are not sloppy. They're economizing sounds to make speech flow. But be careful in formal settings. Use full forms there. Side note, reductions aren't always interchangeable across varieties of English. Gonna and wanna are common in American English media and casual conversation. In very careful speech or informal contexts, you'll hear fewer reductions. Also, some reductions are more acceptable in writing, like gonna in text messages among friends, but avoid them in essays. A good practice? Record yourself practicing reductions in conversation, then listen back. Are you still clear? If not, slow down slightly. Clarity beats imitation. Let's have some fun with switching tenses in stories. The historical present I mentioned. It's common in spoken narratives to switch from past to present to create immediacy. Example, so last night I'm walking down the street and this dog comes out of nowhere and it's like, hi. Technically, the events are past, but the speaker uses present to make us feel like we're there. That's very natural. In formal writing, keep tenses consistent. In conversation, mixing tenses is a performance tool. Use it to bring your audience in. A small interactive tip: when you tell a personal anecdote, try retelling it twice. First in your head in full past tense, the formal version, then retell it aloud in the historical present with short chunks and reactions. See which version gets more listener engagement. Typically, the present tense version feels livelier. Practice switching tenses for effect, but again, be aware of context. Present tense storytelling is great for friends and podcasts, not always right for academic reports. Let's tackle hesitation devices. Like, I mean, these are everywhere. In textbooks, they say, avoid fillers. But in speech, they help processing and social signaling. Buys thinking time. Like can be a discourse marker or a quotative. I was like, no way! Checks if the listener is following and can be polite. Fillers have rhythm and social meaning, but too many can sound uncertain. So the goal is not to eliminate them, but to manage them. Native speakers use them strategically. Exercise. Try telling a story and notice where you put fillers. Which ones are helping you organize thought and which ones are just habits. Try replacing some filler with a pause. Silence is okay. A short pause can sound confident, but don't become unnatural. The point is authenticity, not perfect elimination. Easier said than done, right? Quick note on pronunciation patterns tied to grammar. Linking and reductions affect how words join. For example, I have to sounds like I have to. I want to often becomes I wanna. Connectors like and often link to the next word. Bread and butter, bread and butter. These pronunciation habits reinforce the spoken grammar patterns we've been discussing. So listening practice should focus on connected speech, not just isolated words. Now, a slightly longer dramatized example, mixing many features, story, dropped auxiliaries, repetition, and connectors. I'll play two friends, Alex and Jess. Yo, you hear about Mark? No, what? Okay, so he's at the bar, right? And he orders this fancy drink. Then he spills it on his shirt. I'm like, dude, everyone starts laughing. Oh my God. And then he tries to clean it and just makes it worse. Long story short, red wine everywhere. This short scene shows quick switches, present tense, repetition, and the casual rhythm of conversation. A little analysis. Yo, you hear about Mark? Drops the auxiliary. I'm like, dude, uses the quotative to introduce a reaction. Long story short is a connector that sums up. These little moves maintain conversational momentum. When you hear them, try shadowing. Repeat the lines right after I say them. Shadowing helps you internalize rhythm and reductions more than written drills. Shadowing exercise, short and practical. After I speak each line, pause for about 3 seconds and repeat it aloud in your own voice. Ready? Line 1. Hey, you coming tonight? Line 2. Can't, got work. Line 3. No worries, catch you later. See how quick and natural those lines feel? That's the aim, to sound like you're in the interaction. Don't try to be perfect, try to be natural. Another common feature, back-channeling. Those tiny responses listeners give to show they're listening. Uh-huh, yeah, right, mm-hmm. These are crucial in spoken grammar because they signal engagement and regulate turn-taking. If you don't give back-channel signals, speakers might keep talking or think you're not following. Practice. When someone speaks, try to insert yeah, right, or oh at natural points. It'll make conversations feel more mutual. Okay, let's briefly cover register shifts. Sometimes speakers intentionally vary from very informal to very formal in the same interaction, depending on topic or audience. Example, a manager at a team meeting might say, "So, quick update. Team did great last week. That said, I need a formal report by Friday." That switch, informal tone, then formal instruction, is part of pragmatic competence. You don't have to be identical in all contexts. Learn to code switch smoothly. Now, some common learner worries and quick fixes. Worry, if I use fragments, will people think my grammar is bad? Quick fix, not usually. In spoken conversation, fragments are normal. Worry, if I drop auxiliaries, will I confuse people? Fix, use them in contexts where the meaning is clear and avoid informal speech. Worry, if I say like a lot, will I sound unprofessional? Fix, reduce quotative like in professional situations. Some fillers are fine, but moderation matters. Worry, how do I practice listening to all these patterns? Fix, shadowing, close listening to podcasts and TV shows, and transcribing short clips. Write down what you hear and compare to textbook forms. Let's do a practical mini workout for the next week. 3 short tasks to build spoken grammar intuition. Task 1. Shadow 2 minutes of a conversational podcast every day. Repeat right after the speaker. Task 2. Transcribe a 30-second clip once a week. Write down exactly what you hear, then rewrite it in textbook English and compare. Task 3. In one casual conversation a day, intentionally use one spoken feature, maybe a fragment or a contracted reduction, and observe listener reaction. Keep a notebook. These small practices change perception quickly. Now, a small caution. Some reductions and slang are more regional or informal than others. For example, y'all is common in the southern U.S. and increasingly in general spoken English, but it's regionally marked. You guys is common in many areas too. Learn regionally specific features if you plan to live in, work with, or watch media from that region. Otherwise, stick to neutral spoken forms. A brief comparison of 2 approaches to practice, intensive versus integrative. Intensive, you practice reductions and fragments in focused sessions, shadowing, recording, self-correction. Integrative, you practice them within real conversations, language exchanges, casual chats. Both matter. Intensive builds pattern recognition, integrative builds social confidence. If you can, do both. Let's play with an exaggerated, over-textbook line for fun. Imagine someone at a coffee shop who says in ultra-formal, "Permit me to purchase a caffeinated beverage of the medium size." The barista replies, "I beg your pardon, sir, but what exactly is your caffeine preference?" Now the realistic version, "Give me a medium coffee, please." Barista, "Sure, what kind?" Much faster. The moral? People prioritize efficiency and social ease over grand grammar when speaking. Okay, time for a slightly longer practice. I'll act out a 90-second natural conversation between 2 colleagues planning a presentation. Listen for fragments, dropped auxiliaries, connectors, and back-channel signals. Then I'll repeat the dialogue slowly and explain each feature. Ready? Quick, real version. "Ben, hey, you got the slides ready?" "Almost, just tweaking slide 3. "Cool. Think we should add a summary at the end?" "Yeah, good idea. Keep it short. You take the intro?" "Sure. I'll do intro and cues." "Great. I'll send the updated deck tonight." "Perfect. Thanks." Now slow it down and let's annotate. You got the slides ready? Drops do and uses you got as a question. Almost, just tweaking slide 3. Fragment answer with present continuous, dropping I'm. Think we should add a summary at the end? Drops do and uses we should in quick question. Yeah, good idea. Keep it short. You take the intro? Sure, I'll do intro and cues. Great! I'll send the updated deck tonight. Perfect. Thanks. Back channel and close. All features in one short exchange. Let's talk briefly about listening in media. TV shows, movies, podcasts, these are gold mines for spoken grammar. When you watch, do 2 passes. First pass, enjoy and follow the story. Second pass, pick a short scene and transcribe. Look for dropped words, fragments, and connectors. Mark them. Try shadowing a line or two. Repeat daily and you'll notice patterns faster than grammar exercise alone. Here's a tiny homework assignment that's fun. Pick a 30-second clip from a show you like. Write down exactly what you hear. Then translate it into textbook English, then back into your natural voice. For example, clip, I don't know, man, kinda weird. Textbook, I do not know, that seems somewhat odd. Back to spoken, I don't know, kinda weird. Do this 3 times with different clips this week. One more practical tip about speaking in professional contexts, adopt the neutral, natural style. Full sentences, but conversational phrasing. Use contractions, I'm, we're, simple connectors, so, but, and avoid heavy fillers. Example, instead of, I do not believe it would be possible for me to attend the meeting, say, I don't think I can make the meeting. It's clear, natural, and professional. That middle ground is often the most effective. Now, a slightly deeper, slightly nerdy moment. Why is spoken grammar systematic, even when it looks messy? Because it's optimized for real-time interaction. Linguists call this performance grammar. It balances cognitive load for speaker and listener. Short fragments require less planning and are easier to process. Repetition signals emphasis and buys time. Reduced forms conserve effort. It's efficient. You're hearing an adaptive system, not random errors. A tiny story from my teaching. I had a student, Anna, who insisted on using full textbook sentences in every conversation. She sounded precise but distant. When she practiced fragments and reductions, she was surprised. Her friends relaxed, responded faster, and she felt more connected. She told me, it felt weird to leave some words out, but people responded differently, more like friends. That's the social power of spoken grammar. It's not about correctness alone. It's about connection. Let's do a brief mock Q&A. Questions learners often ask. Q. Should I correct myself when I use a fragment? A. Not usually. Most fragments are fine. Q. Will using reductions confuse native speakers? A. Rarely. Context and intonation make meaning clear. Q. How long until I get comfortable? A. With daily listening and shadowing, weeks to months for recognition, months to a year for natural usage, depending on exposure. Q. Should I copy slang? A. Be cautious. Slang can be regionally specific and socially marked. We're nearing the end, but I want to leave you with a practical checklist you can carry in your head the next time you watch a show or have a chat. 1. Listen for fragments, where subjects or verbs drop. 2. Notice repetition. What's being repeated and why? 3. Identify reduced forms. Gonna, wanna, have to. 4. Watch storytelling. Does the tense change to present? 5. Track connectors. So, and, but, anyway. 6. Observe back channels. Yeah, right. Use this checklist during short daily listening sessions. Before we close, a short, fun rerun of the very first scene, the coffee plan. Textbook robot. Good afternoon, Michael. Would you like to join me for coffee at 10:30? That time is acceptable. Real human? Hey, Mike, coffee at 10:30? Yeah, I'm in. Corner cafe? Yep, see ya. Which version would you rather hear? The real one, obviously. And which one would your friends prefer? Real as well. Which one might an academic paper prefer? The robot. Pick your register. Quick teaser for next episode, because I love a sequel. Next time, we'll dig into discourse markers and fillers, those tiny words you hear a million times, like, right? We'll unpack their functions and practice using them intentionally. They're not mistakes, they're signals. So, if you've ever been told to stop saying like, bring that frustration. You'll learn why people use it and how to manage it. I'm really excited for that one. Final wrap up. Main points. Spoken grammar is different from written, but systematic. Key features: fragments, repetition, dropped auxiliaries, simpler sentence structures, spoken connectors, historical present in storytelling, reductions, fillers, and back-channeling. Practical takeaway: understand first, practice with shadowing and transcription, and choose your register deliberately. You don't have to use every spoken feature, just be able to recognize them and apply a few when appropriate.